All right, today we are going to dive deep into a system for absolutely mastering the art of learning. We're talking about making that hard work you have to do feel less like a massive struggle and honestly, more like something you actually want to do. Let's get into it. So, does this sound familiar? You know exactly what you need to be studying. You know what project you need to kick off. But it's like there's this invisible wall inside you that just won't budge. You hit the snooze button, you get distracted by literally anything else, and the day just ends with that all too familiar sting of disappointment. So why? Why is there such a huge gap between what we want to do and what we actually do? Okay, here's the single most important thing I want you to get from this. You are not the problem. It is not a lack of willpower. The real issue is that most of us are trying to run this high-performance engine, our brain, on the absolute wrong kind of fuel. So what we need is an upgrade. And here is our exact roadmap for that upgrade. We're going to build what I call the pyramid of mastery, and we'll do it in 3 parts. First, we're upgrading your motivation. Second, we are sharpening your learning toolkit. And third, we are designing a system that basically guarantees your success. So let's start at the bottom, the foundation of our entire pyramid, motivation. We're going to do a full swap out here, moving from the cheap, dirty fuel of external rewards to a much cleaner, way more powerful source of energy. I want you to think of it like this. Extrinsic motivation, grades, praise, money, that's basically fossil fuel. Yeah, it gives you a quick boost, a little jolt of energy, but it's temporary and it runs out fast. Now, intrinsic motivation, that's like fusion energy. It comes from inside you, it's self-sustaining, and it creates this amazing cycle where the work itself actually starts to feel energizing. So how do we actually tap into this fusion energy? Well, it all comes down to focusing on these 5 core drivers. Just ask yourself, am I genuinely curious about this? Do I have a clear path to getting better, to achieving mastery? Do I actually enjoy the process itself? That's the autotelic part, where the activity is its own reward. Does this work serve some kind of larger purpose? And finally, do I feel in control? Do I have autonomy? The more of these you can honestly answer yes to, the more powerful your motivation is going to be. Okay, so with our motivation engine fully upgraded, let's move up to the second level of the pyramid, the tools. It's just not enough to have a powerful engine, right? You also need to know how to drive the thing effectively. This is all about the how, the specific science-backed techniques for actually learning. Now, look at this because this chart shows a huge mistake most of us are making. We spend hours and hours on passive things, like just rereading our notes, which gives us a pretty dismal 10% retention rate. But check out the active methods, like doing practice questions. That can get you all the way up to a 75% retention rate. That is a 7-fold increase in your efficiency. You're literally learning the same amount in a fraction of the time. So how do we apply this to those subjects that just feel completely overwhelming? First, you got to chunk it down. Stop looking at the entire mountain and just focus on the first few steps in front of you. Second, take real breaks. Your brain enters this amazing diffuse mode when you walk away, and it connects ideas in the background. And no, scrolling on your phone does not count. And third, never, ever skip the fundamentals. If you're stuck, I can almost guarantee it's because a foundational piece of the puzzle is missing. This quote from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who is basically the godfather of the concept of flow, just ties this all together perfectly. See, when you combine the right learning techniques with that powerful intrinsic motivation, you enter a state of flow. The work becomes its own reward, and that line between work and play, it just completely disappears. And now for the very top of the pyramid. We have the fuel, we have the tools. Now it's time to build the system, the blueprint that makes your progress automatic, so you don't even have to rely on willpower anymore. This is an incredibly powerful system used by top students everywhere. First, build momentum early. While everyone else is kind of easing into the semester, you go hard for the first few weeks to get a huge head start. Second, you create a game plan. What's your big, audacious goal? And maybe even more importantly, what's the most likely thing to make you fail? You have to anticipate those obstacles. And third, lock in your routines. You make success a habit that just runs on autopilot. In that, right there is the secret. The top performers, the real academic beasts, they don't have some superhuman reserve of willpower. They simply build an environment where failure is almost impossible. They design systems that support their goals so they aren't fighting this uphill battle every single day. They make success the path of least resistance. So when you combine all three levels of this pyramid, the intrinsic motivation, the sharp toolkit, and that automated system, you become what we call a Zen warrior student. You have the monk's total detachment from external rewards combined with the warrior's intense focused engagement in the work itself.
And here it is, the completed pyramid of mastery. The foundation is that powerful intrinsic motivation. This supports the structure, which is a toolkit of smart active learning techniques. And it's all topped with the capstone, a system that makes your success pretty much inevitable.
Look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It is a practical, actionable blueprint. The difference between good and truly great students, it's not their DNA, it's their system. And you now have the exact schematics to build that system for yourself. You know, in a world that is just constantly changing, the ability to learn difficult things quickly is the ultimate competitive advantage. It's the one skill that underpins every other skill you'll ever need. So really, the only question left is, are you ready to build your pyramid and master it?